Loud. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Rotary E-Club of District 7710 for Tuesday, March 13th, 2018. Thank you for joining us. Just a few quick reminders about the ways you can connect with our club. Our website is Lead With Us, that's leadwith.us, and if you visit the page, you'll be able to learn more about the club and contact us by email. We're also on Facebook, so if you look for Rotary E-Club of District 7710, and you can find us on Twitter at Lead With Us and Instagram at Lead With Rotary. So please take a minute to friend or follow us. And now I'm going to hand it off to Kevin to introduce Hayden Tweedy, tonight's speaker. Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, this is Kevin Primus. I'm calling from Durham, North Carolina, and my good friend Hayden Tweedy will be speaking to us tonight. She was a child actress, and I'm going to let her tell more of her story because this is an opportunity for us to share a vocational service. What do people do for a living? But Hayden and I worked together for a little while in a company out in Los Angeles. I was telecommuting, and we got to be friends and to work on a couple other projects. One in Florida, where she was a host of the American Youth Football National Championships, and that was a pretty interesting and eventful journey that Hayden had there. But she's also done a lot of acting through her whole career from being, I think, age 5 till today. And so I'm just going to turn it over and let Hayden tell her story from being a child actor to becoming an adult. Hayden, it's on you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, first of all. I think this is really cool to be a part of this and see what you guys are doing here. So thank you so much. Thank you, Eve, for coordinating, and Kevin as well. I'm excited to be here. I have never used Zoom before, just as a preface. So when we come to the screen sharing portion of this, it might be a little less than par, but we'll make it work. So I'm just going to jump right in. So I, like Kevin was saying, I am an actress. I've been pursuing acting since I was about 5 years old. It first started when I went to my mom and I told her I wanted to be an actress, and she kind of was like, okay, well, sure, like, you know, this is a phase, it's gonna pass. You also wanted to be a princess last week, so, you know. And so I just was persistent, and I kept telling her that I really wanted to act. I would watch movies and things, and I would reenact them, and she would find me in my room in front of the mirror with my shampoo bottle, pretending to put on a commercial, like, if you want your hair as soft and as shiny as mine, use Pantene Pro V. So then she kind of knew maybe she wants to do this for real. So we started looking for opportunities in Dallas. I'm originally from Dallas. That's where I grew up. And we found an agent, and that is kind of when it all started. And when I first started like getting my feet wet, I was about 5 years old. My agent was able to get me work in a lot of commercials and short films and things like that. And then they told me about the opportunity to be on the Barney and Friends show. I don't know if you're familiar with the purple dinosaur, but maybe if you have kids, you might be. Some people find it kind of creepy, which I totally understand. But yeah, so I wanted to audition for that. And as a kid, I remember I grew up on Barney, and I remember watching the show and just knowing that I wanted to be on the show. As a 5-year-old, I was like, I'm going to do that. That's going to be me. And I never told anyone. And it's funny looking back now because that was, you know, me manifesting my goals. But as a kid, I just thought, I'm going to do that, you know. So the opportunity came up. I auditioned for the show, and there was no doubt in my mind that I wouldn't get it. I just went in like, okay, this is my job. This is what I'm going to do. I ended up getting the job, and I worked, I was about 9 years old. I worked for about 1.5 years on the Barney show as a series regular, which was so much fun. It was really, really a great time. There were great people involved. It's filmed in Dallas. The creator and writer are from Dallas, so that is where it's filmed. And I was on the show with 2 of my good friends Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato. I don't know if you've heard of them, maybe you have, but they were two of my good friends who were also on the show. So after that, once you're on the show and you are too tall to be on the show, they kick you off. They say, okay, that's enough. And then I had the opportunity to go on the Barney and Friends national tour, which was really, really great. That toured for 5 months in the northeast portion of the U.S., and that was just such an amazing opportunity. But my parents both worked full time. And so they were like, well, how are we going to make this work for her? We don't want to deny her of this opportunity, but neither one of us can go. My mom was an elementary school teacher and my dad sold health insurance. They both had great day jobs. And so we ended up connecting with an old babysitter of mine who was in her early 20s and was just like ready to travel all over anywhere she could. She was so excited, and she had just quit her job. So we went. She was actually my guardian on the tour. So it was a really, really great experience. I got to perform at places like Radio City Music Hall in New York. We performed in Memphis and Chicago and just so many cities. And it was amazing. But I got home and I was kind of like, well, this was really awesome, but I kind of just want to chill. I may have been, a little burnt out. And I told my mom, I was like, I just want to hold off on auditioning for a little bit, kind of just go back to public school, be a kid again. And she was always so supportive. She was like, no questions asked. Of course, that's what we'll do. So at that point, I went back to school, and everyone was, I kind of got attention from my peers, and I never acted for the attention or for fame or anything like that. And so the attention that I got from my peers kind of made me a little uncomfortable. And I kind of felt like I was maybe odd for doing it, even if that's not how they perceived it. I still felt like I stood out in some way. And so at that point, I kind of just took it easy, invested my time into school and sports and extracurricular activities. And I just was really heavily involved in sports and church and everything. So through junior high and high school, I played softball, volleyball, soccer. I ran track. I just loved all types of sports. And I really didn't audition that much at all. So then my freshman year of high school, I tore my ACL playing soccer. And that was just such a bummer because I was out for a good probably 6 months or so. And it was just really unfortunate. I couldn't play any sports. And that's such a pivotal time in high school sports. You're learning so many fundamentals that you'll need. And I just felt like I really fell behind. My sophomore year, I actually tried out for the volleyball team, and I just felt like I was just light years behind all of the other girls. And needless to say, I did not make the team. But that kind of brought me back to performing, because at that point I hadn't auditioned in a long time. I hadn't really been investing a lot of my time into pursuing acting. And so once I tore my ACL, sports was kind of not a thing anymore. And I joined my my high school show choir team. And so that kind of brought me back to knowing what I really wanted to do, and really just sparked my interest again in performing. And so, and I forgot to show you. I'm so sorry. Okay, so this was, hang on, let me screen share really quickly. I'm just rambling on, but this was, I'm going to show you a picture of me. Hang on, let's see. Hold on. See, the screen share portion isn't quite the best. I'm not very tech savvy in this regard. Let's see. Now I'm totally lost. Oh, there we go.
You have it?
I think so. Hold on one second. Screen share. Okay, great. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this was me as a little goofball on Barney. I forgot to put that in there. I just wanted to show you. And then this was the whole cast, which was pretty cool. Let me see, you're still seeing my screen. I forgot about that. So that was the whole cast, and it's really blurry, but this was Selena Gomez, and this was Demi. This is me up here. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, totally forgot to show you guys that. So that was that. And let me stop sharing my screen, because that might be, let me see, stop share. Can you see my screen now?
No.
Okay, good. Okay. So yeah, so I went back to performing, and I just really found my passion again, my love for performing. So at this point, I was performing all through high school. I really loved and enjoyed it. I got back into auditioning. I was just, trying to go as much as I could, still being invested in school and stuff. But then in college, I was like, well, I'm excited to go to college. I went to school for 2 years, and then it was actually my dad who reminded me, what I wanted to do, and he really pushed me to move out to LA, which I feel like I'm so grateful for, because had he never pushed me to do it, I probably would have never done it. So after 2 years of school, I moved out to LA, and I have been auditioning like crazy. It's a steady struggle. It's a steady hustle, but it's been working, and it's been really great. But when I first moved out here, I was so nervous. I knew that I needed a day job. And so I found a couple day jobs that I just, was really invested in. And then I ended up at VRC, which is the virtual reality company, which Kevin also works for. And that was really such an amazing opportunity. Robert Stromberg is one of the CEOs, as well as Kevin's brother, Guy Primus. And so just the work that they were doing was just so amazing. And Robert Stromberg is the director of Maleficent and many other great films. And so just to see the work that they were doing really got me in touch again with just cinema and what I wanted to do. And it just really lit a fire under me. Unfortunately, though, that meant that I was crazy and decided to quit my day job, because I came out here to pursue acting. So I wanted to free up my time. And I have just been working on various projects, just kind of bouncing from project to project. It's been great, but it's just like, a little scary. So yeah, I guess that's my story, and that's where I am now. I'm not sharing my screen, am I?
Thanks, Hayden. Hey, Jan, do you want to unmute? Was everybody else hearing Hayden? I could hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Just fine. Yep. Okay. Cool. All right. Sorry about that, Hayden. Thanks so much. So
Hayden's audio. Oh.
Okay. You're still there.
Okay, great.
Does anyone have questions for Hayden?
Yeah, this is Jeeper. How long have you been out in LA?
I don't. Years.
Oh, now I can't hear you. Not at all.
You're gone.
Where are you guys?
Oh, there. We can hear you. It's just cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, is it? I'm so sorry. That might be my spotty Wi-Fi or something. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I've been out here about 5 years. Yeah, so it has just, I am steadily auditioning. I just signed with a new agency and they are getting me out on a lot of new, right now is pilot season. And so, so we're just working on getting out for a lot of pilot auditions. So yeah.
I can imagine that the whole process of auditions and things like that can be a little daunting, especially giving up a sure thing like, for a maybe.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my mom thought I was absolutely crazy for leaving a day job with amazing benefits, a great paycheck. But I just felt like I was really called, as great as BRC is and was to work for. I also feel like they kind of inspired me to make that jump into the kind of the unknown. But it's been
Mhm.
really good because my momentum has picked up, and I've been auditioning a lot more and working on projects and meeting new people. So it's been really great.
Good.
Hayden, can you tell us a little bit about the audition process? Like, how much notice do you get, and just time to prepare and things like that?
Sure. So I'm represented theatrically and commercially by my agents. Theatrically is anything TV or film, and then commercially is obviously commercials. So for a commercial audition, it is a quick turnaround. You can literally, your agent will call you and say, I need you to be by the beach, which is 30 minutes away from me, in an hour, and it's very little time, a very quick turnaround. And that's usually because they don't need you to prepare anything really. It's kind of like a cold read when you go in. You're either cold reading, or you get in the audition room and they'll just have you improv something. So commercial auditions are kind of freak me out, just because they're so last minute, so little time to prepare, and you never really know what you're stepping into. And then theatrically, you'll usually get about 2 to 3 days for preparation for if it's a role for a TV show or a film. It's usually quite a bit of material, depending on if you're auditioning for a series regular, which means that you are on the series throughout the whole what's the word I'm looking for, throughout the whole season. And then but you could get a page and a half, but typically they'll tell you a couple days in advance, so you can kind of know.
Great, that's really interesting. I've always wondered that. So do you have some things prepared for, like, just random auditions, or is it like it's...
No, it really is. It can be, so my agent will submit, my agent and manager's job is just to submit me for anything that I fit the type for. So they will just submit me for anything. The casting directors go through hundreds of headshots, pictures of actors, and then they'll call in about 10 to 20 actors. So once you have the audition, you've actually kind of, and I actually just found this out a couple days ago, but once you have the audition, you are kind of, it's like one round down. At least you got in the room, because you're 10 or 20 of hundreds of people that they've chosen to come in. So yeah, so then you'll come in for the audition, and they will have given you your sides to prepare, and then you go in and just do the best that you can.
Great. Anyone else for questions?
Yes, I have one. Hello, Hayden. How are you?
Hi, well, thank you.
Good. Hey, Hayden, this is kind of one of those questions. I'm a high school teacher, and I have lots of students who aspire to do what you do. Yeah. I'm going to ask you, would you be willing to come and Skype into the classroom and talk to students about what you do? And,
So awesome. I would love to do that. That would be really, really cool.
Okay. So you'll leave your information with someone, and with Kathy or Eve or someone, and because I'd love to contact you and talk with, our students about that, having you into the classroom. And I do remember seeing you. I have 4 daughters, and I do remember seeing your picture now, that little flashback there. I'm going like, wow, I think I remember that. I think I remember that picture. So it's cool.
Yeah, like I look back and I'm like, oh my God, what was it? You know, it was just but yeah, no, I would love to talk to your students, and even Kevin have my contact info, so that would be amazing.
Okay, it's actually cool because we transferred. I have 4 grandkids. This is kind of like a story, but I have 4 grandkids, and we're now transferring the Barney set that we've had for all of them to the next grandkid. How cool is that, right?
That's awesome.
Wow stuff. All right, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed hearing your story.
We'll make sure we connect you. That's so funny. My son was obsessed with Barney the Purple Dinosaur. He's 26, so it lasted a few years. We were very confused as young parents. We didn't know what this dinosaur was all about. So, oh, we lost you. We lost your audio again.
Uh-oh.
No, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I've gotten that response from so many parents. They're like, I really don't know why my child likes this, but you know. Keep it quiet for 30 minutes, so I'm all about it. Yeah, but some people are like, I just find it so creepy, like this creepy dinosaur. So, to each his own, right?
At least it's not Teletubbies.
It's a little after my time, but yeah, that was.
That's funny. Does anyone else have questions?
Yes, this is Gianne. Do you remember, you mentioned your, like when you were first starting out, do you remember what your first commercial was, or any of your first experiences or performances?
Yes, my first commercial was a Dairy Queen commercial, so that was great. I got to eat a Frosty or whatever they're called, and then I also did a bunch of stage productions when I was little, so I worked on like Thumbelina, and that was just local stuff. And then I actually was when I was 7, I was in a horror film, which my mom was a little freaked out about putting me in, but the director ended up being great, and I mean, I wouldn't really recommend seeing it, you know, especially if you're not into the horror genre, but it was a fun experience for sure.
Thanks.
So Hayden, a lot of kids, you know, I come across kids. I shouldn't say a lot of kids, but I come across kids that have this idea that being a movie star or being a star athlete is really easy. Is it?
No, it's not at all. I mean,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
what was the toughest thing you had to do? I mean,
I think I'm doing the toughest thing right now, because I think as a child actor, you know, if you have really supportive parents, which I was blessed to have, your mom doubles as your manager. So your mom is your manager that's working harder than your actual manager would, because they're literally working round the clock, you know, and they always have your best interests at heart. And I think the hardest thing about this business was kind of growing up, being out of it for a while, and then coming back to it as an adult, and really just seeing how hard and just really how difficult the business side of it is. Because the acting side is the part that I love. It's the part that is just so freeing creatively, but there's a whole other business side to it that people don't even realize. You really have to know how to market yourself. You have to know how to network with people, and it's really tough sometimes, you know, just getting yourself out there. And I think that's been the most challenging thing for me, definitely.
Okay. Did high school education help with any of those skill sets that you just mentioned?
It did. I think just being in sports and being in extracurricular activities, it kind of you know, gets you out there, and I think I learned how to communicate with people, and just I enjoy talking to people. So I think that's a huge part of the business side of it, is just being able to talk network with people. You know, when you go into an audition room, they tell you that you should win over the room, and you have to, you know, have an icebreaker and just make casual conversation with the casting directors. So I think, yeah, definitely, it definitely helped.
Oh, okay. So you just told us what Eve is doing then. She's winning over the room. Okay.
You could be our president nominee for 2020. Thanks, Lonnie. So does anyone have another question? Kevin, comments?
So, Hayden, tell us about how did you get on Law and Order SVU? How did you find that?
Totally left that out, didn't I? So funny. Like I feel like I enjoy talking, but when it comes to talking about myself, I'm like, I don't know what to say. Yeah, I did work on Law and Order SVU. That was a couple years ago, and my agent told me about it was a guest star role, so it's a smaller role, but it's Law and Order SVU. You can't pass it up. So my agent told me about the opportunity, and I was actually so sick the day of the audition, and I almost convinced myself not to go to the audition because I was just feeling so terrible. I was like, you know what? No, you need to get up and you need to go. So I went and I auditioned, and it was actually a self-tape audition. So they film in New York. It's mostly cast out of New York, but every once in a while they'll reach out to LA actors. And I happen to be the only person cast off of a tape for that episode, and the only person from LA. Everyone else they cast in New York. So I was so happy that I didn't stay home and just let myself be sick. Yeah, so that was great. And it's like I said, it's filmed in New York. I flew to New York. They told me that I had the job. I was literally on a plane the next day, and then stayed for a couple of weeks filming. So it was really awesome, really, really great. I got to work with Mariska Hargitay, who is amazing and has been doing Law and Order for years. So that was awesome.
Hayden, what kind of what would be your preferred avenue for acting? Do you want to do, I don't know all the some of the genres, but I mean, what would be your ideal acting gig?
Right. So to start out, I feel like it's most actors, well, it's my dream to be a series regular on a TV show, and I would love to start out on the pilot. So the pilot is the first show that they run as kind of like a test run. They see the response to it, they see how many people tuned in, and then if the network sees that it's doing well, then it'll continue and they'll give the green light to get them a whole season. So I would love to start out as a series regular, just because it's steady work, first of all, which all actors love, and then it's amazing to start a project from the beginning, and unless they kill you off, finish it to the end, because I just feel like I could really be invested in the role. You know, a movie may shoot for 3 months, 4 months, and of course a movie would be great. If I would never turn down a movie role with Steven Spielberg or something, but you get to be that character for a few months, whereas a TV show, you become that character becomes an extension of you, and I would love to just dive into a role like that. I think that would be amazing. And I could try to do comedy. I don't really find myself very funny, but I think I would want to stick to the drama genre. Something like on the CW maybe, or NBC, something like that.
That's awesome. It's so fascinating to hear your story. I don't really know any actors, so it's kind of neat to hear you walk through everything. So thank you so much. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, this is Gene again. I heard Lonnie make his pitch for the Skype, which is a good deal. I have kindergarten, first graders, so maybe not. But from a high school perspective, and I know a lot of kids, especially when they make that transition into adulthood, have a hard time with selling themselves. And I know that in acting, you have to do that in multiple fronts. But from a job perspective, in other words, getting in front of, a potential producer or whatever, would you be able to impart some information like that to young, 16, 17-year-olds?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been a challenge for me personally. And I think the first thing is that I've realized is that you need to know your brand. So you kind of need to be really in touch with who you are, because you can't sell something that you don't fully understand. And so that's something that I've really realized. And I think even coming out to LA in my beginning years of being out here, I didn't really know who I was, to be totally honest, and I was getting in touch with myself. So I think that it's been this whole evolution process, which has been really cool. Me kind of getting to know my brand, getting to know what I'm going out for, and then being able to sell that better. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I know the idea. I've been in sales for a number of years, and I know getting in front of someone and convincing, and there's a certain amount of confidence that you should have, obviously, but you should know what your brand is.
Yes.
And I did it for the phone company, so it was a downhill battle for me most of the time.
I can only imagine. You've got to be a smooth talker, huh?
Yes. And you have to dance well too.
Yes. Play the dance, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So Hayden, one thing we had talked about in the past is your interest in doing PR work. What sorts of, and Rotary is a lot about service. I mean, basically that's what Rotary is, service above self. If you could help a group of people, if you could represent an organization or a group of people, what have you thought about? What are the types of organizations or needs that society has that you would be interested in representing?
Oh, we lost your audio. Oh. So weird.
Why it's going in and out like that? That's so strange.
You're back.
Am I back?
Yep.
Yes, I think that's why Kevin and I have connected, just because I would love to get involved with education. My mom was an elementary school teacher, and so I've always had just a love for kids, and I think that would be something really awesome to get involved in.
Thanks, Hayden. I didn't mute myself. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking with us tonight. This has been a really, really great conversation. I love it when we have conversations with our guest speakers, and this has really been fascinating. And we've already hooked you up with Lonnie to do some work with his class and education. So that's fantastic. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to share my screen. And hang on. I've got to do the fancy way. So there we go. So this is something we do with our Rotary Club, because we can't give you a real physical piece of paper. We do a virtual certificate of appreciation to thank you for being here and imparting your wisdom this evening. And we really, really appreciate it. And
that is so cool. Thank you so much.
So you'll just have to hold it in your memory. So, and maybe Lonnie, would you like to lead us in the four-way test this evening? Somehow I just got a new slide. Oh, you're on mute, sorry. Okay, start again. Oh.
The four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Great. Thanks so much, Lonnie. Thank you, Hayden. I really appreciate having you.
It was so great to be a part of this. Thank you so much. And thank you for my certificate. It's awesome.
We'll stay in touch. Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yes,
Thanks,
see you
everyone.
soon. Bye-bye. Bye, Lonnie.
Bye-bye.